I ain't the kind to wear a tie. Button up from 9 to 5. I tried that life but said goodbye. I'm not always polite, but I get the job done. Who says the world can never be fun? I'm simply unprofessional. Simply unprofessional. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Simply Unprofessional. I'm your host, Webby. Joining me tonight, we got Devin.
Hey, everybody. I'm here.
Devin!
Yes.
American Gods.
Yes.
You've been telling me to watch this for quite some time.
Yes.
I finally watched it.
You did.
It, in a word, fucking weird. But in a good way.
Yes.
So this week we're going to talk about American Gods. So ultimately it was a book first, right? It was a novel. Now, is it a series or is it just one novel so far?
It is right now it is a novel, and Shadow Story is followed up in subsequent like novellas and short stories that appear. Gaiman wrote, I think, 2 or 3 like anthology series, and he does pop back up at one point.
Okay.
So he pops back up a few times across there, and then there is the Anansi Boys, which is kind of not a sequel, but it basically is about the god Anansi. He, in this book he dies, leaving 2 sons, and they discover each other. So it's in the same world, but not exactly the same kind of thing. It's not a direct sequel. So
Okay.
I mean, but yeah.
Now, I know you said you've listened to a little bit of the audiobook, but you haven't really dove into the audiobook.
I've had the actual book. I got about 2/3 of the way or halfway through an actual book, probably back in like mid high school. So
Okay.
it's been a bit. And then I think I lost the book or something happened to it. I never finished it. And then I recently just purchased the audiobook on it, and I have yet to dive into that because it's one of those books where I really want to just sit down, and it might even be one where I order the actual book to go along with the audiobook and just sit down and just kind of plow through it. I mean, it's kind of a short read. It's 465 pages, I think.
All right.
It's not a crazy long read.
Now, I'm guessing just like a lot of works that go from either being written to the screen or vice versa, I'm guessing that there were creative liberties taken, so there are differences between the books and the show.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
There are.
So
I can talk about, and when we get into this,
moving forward, we did not say this. Spoiler alert! Obviously, for any type of thing that we do here on Simply Unprofessional, if we talk about a movie or a show that we watch, there's going to be spoilers. So if you have not watched the series yet, we're going to be talking more specifically about the actual TV series. Devin might dive into maybe a little bit of what he does know about the book, but it's mainly going to be the TV series because that's what I watched. If you have not watched it, go watch it, then come back, listen to the podcast. That being said, fucking insane opener. Like, first episode, first 5 minutes, guy gets fucking porcupined by hundreds of arrows. No sooner did I start watching this than I started typing to Devin and Clay, like, what the fuck is this? What am I watching? What is happening right now? And they just sat there and laughed. So it's essentially a show. Exactly what it says, American Gods. And it's primarily told through the story of following Shadow Moon. Right?
correct.
Now, Shadow Moon is played by
Ricky Whittle.
Okay.
Also was who played the dude from the 100, whose name I can't think of right now.
Right. Yeah, fuck, I don't remember who he was in the 100 either. In any case, so this guy, Shadow Moon, is in jail. He's looking forward to his release. He's getting released, they say, in like 5 days or something, but he has like
Lincoln.
this uneasy feeling. That's right, he played Lincoln in the 100. He just has this uneasy feeling and whatnot, and shortly thereafter, he gets pulled aside with the warden and says, "Hey, listen, good news, bad news. Good news is we're going to let you out early. You're going to get released, later on today. So 4 days early. Bad news is your wife died, who he had just spoken with the night before. So that's a whole big mess too. My God, they don't pull punches. Like, for whatever reason, like, I was watching it through my own means, but I forgot that this was on STARZ, and like, for whatever reason, I didn't expect them to be as vulgar as they were in some cases.
Yep, it's true. If you're not, I will preface and I'm gonna say this: if you're not a fan of the penis or just fan of genitalia, you may want to dodge this one.
Yeah,
it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Being the genitalia on screen makes you uncomfortable, then you may want to avoid this show.
Yeah, or if you're not a fan of like seeing gore or blood or something, yeah, kind of probably not.
I mean, I think a man is like lynched in the first episode.
End of the first episode, yeah.
Yep.
And then another dude got literally kicked in half. Like, we find that out later that it was a kick that split that dude in half, because at the time you just see him split in half. Yeah, so Shadow, he gets a flight home, and he's going to go to his wife's funeral, and on the plane, he
well, not even just his wife, it's his wife and his best friend's funeral.
Yeah, they died together. We find out that they died together, in a very abrupt fashion. Yes. But so through circumstances, he ends up getting upgraded to first class. Okay, and that's where he meets Mr. Wednesday. Mr. Wednesday, played by Ian
McShane.
Ian McShane, right?
Love me some Ian McShane.
Fucking
top 10 favorite actor.
Dude, Wednesday. Mr. Wednesday, easily top 3 favorite characters. He's one of them. Spoiler alert. Okay, so essentially the premise: there's old gods, and then there are new gods. Yes. And there's going to be
I guess the shadow premise is, because you kind of figure this out throughout the episodes, is kind of how each of these old gods got to America and became kind of American gods.
Right. So, and there is going to be a war. Mr. Wednesday is trying to recruit for this war. Old gods versus new gods. So we're going to be bouncing all over the fucking place, but let me run down. Oh, that's his name. Okay, you had mentioned this to me. All right, so I'm on the wiki right now. Now, the new gods consist of Mr. World, who is the head of them, played by fucking Willard. What's his name? Bad haircut.
Yes, bad haircut. Who you went on a tangent about before?
Fuck. I'm bad with names right now. Crispin Glover, yes. So he plays Mr. World. Then there's fucking stupid Technical Boy. I fucking hate this kid so much.
See, this is the thing about Technical Boy. Like, I actually like Technical Boy as a character because he is very much, theoretically, he is one of the strongest gods, if you really think about it, right?
Well, yeah, he literally controls technology.
He's the gods of the computer and the internet. So when you think about it, like everything technical, it's all him. Everything is him.
Right.
But he's a very much a god who hates people. However, he hates people. He hates humans. However, that he has to interact with them on a regular basis because of what he is a god of. So it kind of creates this snarky bullshit attitude that he has. And I like him as a character. I fucking hate him as a character as well.
Yeah. So there's Mr. World, Technical Boy, and then there's Media, who is
Love me some media.
essentially I Love Lucy. And
Yes.
she is essentially just
Or David Bowie.
everything TV.
Yes.
She is the media. It's strange. Essentially, those are really your three main new gods, right?
Yeah.
Later
they're
on,
not-
I believe
yep.
Technical Boy recruits technically an old god to work for them
Yes, that's
in the
true.
form of Bilquis.
And we meet later down the road. We do meet Mr. Wood.
Oh yes, oh yeah. Mr. Wood's also an old god, but
Yes.
who has
Well, all of the black hats are
Reformed.
old gods. Which the black hats they're mentioned, but they're not really shown outside of Mr. Wood.
right.
But it's supposed to be Mr. Road, Mr. Town, Mr. Wood, and Mr. Stone. I'm not going to get too deep into it. Mr. Wood is the one that's important. But yeah.
Yeah, so Mr. Wood is literally what it sounds. He is a tree who has shaped himself into other forms of wood. He essentially sold it. We find out later on, he's through like a little dialogue with Mr. Wednesday that he sold out his trees and his forests because he saw a world of industrialization and he decided he was going to join the new world. So yeah, those are essentially your new gods. I'm going to go through a list of old gods, and some of these guys have not chosen a side. Technically, I don't think. So one that obviously there's Mr. Wednesday. He's the leader of the old gods.
Yes.
There is. Hold on, Bilquis that we mentioned,
Yes.
who ends up working begrudgingly for Technical Boy. Now, this was a shocker when they first introduced Bilquis in the show. So, I don't know exactly what she's the god of.
Well, Bilquis, they don't I don't think they explicitly stated in the show. She's actually the Queen of Sheba.
Okay,
She's the Queen of Sheba.
so she's technically a djinn.
Yes, like
Okay.
depending on which lore you follow, she's like a djinn or like a type of devil.
All right, let's
God.
cut to the chase. She has sex with people and then consumes them into her vagina.
You cut out twice. I love how Discord censors you. It's
yeah,
so beautiful.
it's literally bleeping me out. Listen here, Discord, freedom of speech. So, she eats people via vagina.
Yes.
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 Um,
She basically, during having sex, she makes them worship her. Like we see a scene towards the beginning of the first episode or around there somewhere, where she's basically a prostitute. She picks up a guy using Tinder, not really a prostitute, but she kind of picks up a guy through Tinder, or some app that's like Tinder.
And for all you people who like Shameless, the American version, it's the mailman dad.
Yes, there you go. And she makes him light these candles and then worship her while they're having sex. So he lights these candles and then they start having sex and then she makes him worship her. And then she finishes that off by effectively consuming him via vagina.
Like all in. Like either she grows to an immense size or he shrinks down, something. He goes in. Feet, all of it. All of it. It's fucked up. Later on, you see a scene where there's just this massive orgy in a pool, and then everybody liquefies, and she just she vagina drinks the pool. It's fucked up. I'm at a loss for words when I watch this.
He was. I love.
I was like, Devin, he's all in. He's all in. All of it.
And the thing is, I knew exactly what he was talking about when he said it. It's like, Devin, he's all in. Like, all in.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
So there's Mr. Wednesday, there's Bilquis, who essentially, I guess, sides with the new gods begrudgingly. Then there's my boy, Mad Sweeney, who is begrudgingly working for Mr. Wednesday. Apparently he hates this guy, But Mad Sweeney is a fucking leprechaun. He is the most unluckiest fucking leprechaun
Well, he's extremely lucky when he has his coin.
when he has his coin. But for the majority of the show, he does not. And he just has one string of bad luck after
I love how he really can't die, or like his luck never even seems to like overly affect him. It affects everyone else around him.
Yes.
Like the one dude's driving around gets a pipe through the throat.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
okay.
dude. Oh. I love me some Mad Sweeney, giant ass leprechaun, loves to fight. And then there's
actually his like story wise, he's
he's essentially the king, right?
He's he's a king from an old Irish story. Boule, I can't pronounce. I'm not even gonna try to. I would just butcher that completely.
Let me see if is it on his thing?
Slibne? So it's on the Wikipedia thing. You want to read the Wikipedia?
Yeah, we're on the
Yes, Subne. I don't know how to pronounce
medieval
that.
Irish king who was cursed by Saint Ronan to madness and wandering.
Yeah.
Where does it show his name?
Damn. I'm not like on this actual Wikipedia looking at the actual Wikipedia of here of Matt Sweeney. But yeah, Matt Sweeney. It's like Matt Sweeney, and then like it's tell you who he is. But yeah, I mean that's who he is. That's effectively who he is. He's an old Irish. He's a king, old Irish king from like old stories and folklore and whatnot. And he's kind of posing as a leprechaun. He called himself a leprechaun, which is the. Apparently, he's an old Irish king, but he's also became something that predated leprechauns. That I can't remember the name.
Well, see, I thought he was just like essentially the king of, I guess, like the Fey folk.
Yeah, so I mean that is what he was at one point too. He was an actual in the book we find out he was a king from an old Irish story who kind of eventually became that. Who became kind of like the king of the Fae in a weird way. So and he just goes the closest thing to what the world knows him as now is a leprechaun. So that's what he identifies as.
So is it my understanding that people's beliefs essentially are creating these gods?
To an extent, yes. So like effectively, and that's kind of why all the old gods are kind of
falling out of favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much the reasoning behind why you don't have, when you think about it, like why you don't have, like you look at Mr. Wednesday, it's like why doesn't he go and recruit more gods from his pantheon? You know, like where are all his gods from his pantheon? And you start thinking about it, and it's like they've probably lost favor. You know, they probably have no worshipers, or they're just lost to time. So these are all the gods who, in one way or another, can kind of abstract enough of a grip and hold into our society. And I think he even says it at one point. Matt Sweeney even says it, like with the whole leprechaun shtick. He goes like, Lucky Charms and people saying there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That the bullshit belief in that is kind of keeping him around.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Right. All right. The next old god on the list is Chernoborg. He's a Slavic from Slavic mythology. This motherfucker is just a big giant guy with a hammer. He's essentially, I believe he was mentioned. He was like the Slavic god of death.
Death and darkness. Yep.
Yeah. Portrayed by Peter Stormare. Dude, this guy plays all the Russians in every movie.
I know, and I was listening to like a Russian YouTuber talk about it, and she's like he butchers the Russian accent, like the Russian American accent, and he butchers like Russian words. She's like, this is not how they would talk, but she's like, I don't know why they always get he always gets all the Russian roles. But American God Fact, originally when reading the script, Mr. Wednesday, the guy who played Mr. Wednesday, Ian McShane was originally reading for.
People trying to call me in the middle of a recording. Come on.
Mr. Wednesday, aka Ian McShane, was actually originally reading for the part of Cesarnabon.
Really?
Yes, originally when it started out that way, and then they originally wound up liking him better for Wednesday, and then brought in the other guy to be Soderbergh. So
All right.
I got
So
I got little tidbit facts.
so I like Chernobyl. He's also one of my top 3 favorites. So we've already discussed my top 3 favorite gods in this show, and that's in order: Mad Sweeney, Mr. Wednesday, and Chernobyl. So,
Yep.
um, moving on the next list of old gods, we have Mr. Nancy, which is Anansi. Uh, don't like this character only because it's a spider. I don't like spiders. I'm very biased.
He's a trickster god from the African pantheon. He's kind of like the African Loki in a weird way,
Yep.
but he deals more with like stories and things like that.
Yep. He's played by Orlando Jones.
Yes.
I love the actor.
There was a online campaign to get him to play.
Really?
Yes. And it was actually Orlando Jones' idea to give him kind of a colorful suits.
Gotcha.
Because he was always described in the book as having a colorful personality. But, he's like, with the amount of screen time he's getting, you can, let's play that up and give him more colorful suits and make him stand out that way.
Make him stand out, yeah. I gotcha. Next, we're going to jump to both Mr. Ibis and Anubis. This is essentially Anubis and Thoth from Egyptian lore. Obviously, Anubis is the chaperone of death. He's the one who, after you die, he weighs your heart against the feather. If it's heavier, then you're sent to the darkness.
And Thoth records the results in the book.
Thoth was also, according to Egyptian lore, the creator of the alphabet and writing.
And I believe the modern 365-day calendar.
Sure. I don't know that much.
I
can't say that
Thoth
one for sure.
The original creator, or that's attributed to him. The 365 day calendar.
I like these two characters. Oddly enough, they're not necessarily my top 3 favorites, but these guys, they stand out to me.
Yeah, I love the fucked up part where you just see Mr. Ibis and a dog walking down the street, like a jackal dog walking down the street.
Yeah.
And then you step in front of a car, they stop the car, the next thing you know, the dog just stands up and it's fucking
Anubis.
Mr. Jackal. It's
Mr. Jackal, yeah.
That's fucked up.
One of my favorite scenes with Anubis in it was when he's weighing Laura's heart, and he goes to reach forward, and she slaps his hand out of the way, and he just looks at her all shocked, like, you are the first fucking person that's gone through this that has touched me. Who do you think you are?
Yeah. That takes you back too, because we kind of didn't skip over them, but the Zoria sisters.
Oh, I was getting to there. Don't worry,
yeah, no,
they're on my list.
No, I was laughing about because you brought that up. It made me think of the oldest one.
Oh yeah.
Who was like, yeah, we had servants. She's like, the potatoes are going to be hard, the potatoes are going to be soft, the meat's going to be overcooked. We had servants do all the cooking, and learning is beneath me.
Yes. Yep.
I'm like, that's beautiful. Like, she basically representing back in the old day, they had worshipers and they had people who offered
them
stuff to them and brought them stuff, and now they don't. And she's just like, I'm a god. Learning is beneath me. I'm not doing this.
Speaking, we will say the Zoria sisters next. Speaking of them, they are supposed to represent the Fates, correct?
No.
Or no?
No. The Fates are actually mentioned, I think, in the book at some point, but no. They are actually, in the book, they are kind of the attendants of Cezernobog and his brother. So they're related to that pantheon as well.
Okay.
So one of them represents the morning. So how it worked out is I believe one of them was supposed to bring in the day, which is Zordia Utin. Yeah.
Utranyaya.
Yeah, Utranyaya, whatever it was. Yeah, she's the morning star, so she brings in the day. The evening star was who brought in the night, which was Zoria.
Yeah, the oldest one.
Yeah, she brought in the evening star, so she brought in the evening, and then the midnight star was the one who brought in, I think, was the one who gave him the moon, which is the one who brings in the moon. I believe that's how that went down.
All right.
And they were supposed to be, in lore, they watched over the Doomsday Hound, which is what she was talking about being the Ursa Minor in the who's chained.
Oh, the bear,
to-
the bear in the sky.
Yeah. Yep. And that's supposed to be like the Doomsday Hound, and their job is to watch over that.
So if that ever gets free, then fucking Armageddon,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
All right. I want to read more into those three. That interests me. As you can tell, the old god list is far longer than the new gods. Although some of these people they don't particularly choose a side. Like the Zoria sisters, they're not choosing sides. They're kind of neutral gods.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we'll do the Jinn. He's a cabbie. Now, we do see him early on talk to Mr. Wednesday and walk out of a diner.
Yep, but that was actually past the point. That was actually later after he met the cabbie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you notice if you notice him at that point, he's in the blue suit. He's in his blue suit that he was wearing in the cab when the one guy got in.
Okay.
And after they swap places. So what happened is, in a weird way, I guess what happened with the story is originally the ending was different, and it was supposed to be, I think, 10 episodes originally. Well, they wind up, the original ending, they didn't necessarily like it. So they split up the footage and dispersed it across a bunch of other episodes. So that's why it's kind of told out of sequence in a weird way.
Yeah.
And then they combined, I think, episodes 3 and 4 together into one. And that became the new episode, I think, 4. I believe that's how that worked out.
All right.
So
this
it
particular
got
Jinn,
displaced in weird, but it kind of worked out in a cool way.
and this particular Jinn is one called an Ifrit. An Ifrit?
Yeah, an Ifrit. Yep, he's an Ifrit.
Yeah. All right, and he's from the Arabian pantheon of gods, I guess. They worship Jinn.
Yes, which there are all types of Jinn, which Jinn are effectively what translates to genies.
Right.
So in the closest thing you would recognize to a Jinn is Aladdin-style genie.
Right.
And the Ifrits were supposed to be the strongest and the most volatile of them all. They were like fire beasts with wings and things like that.
Yeah, their eyes glue of fire. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Buffalo. I love that buffalo, by the way.
So the next one on the old god list is Vulcan. We meet this guy. He runs pretty much a town. Long story short, he makes Mr. Wednesday a sword. Mr. Wednesday cuts his fucking head off and kicks him into a vat of molten fucking metal. So yeah, because fuck that guy. This guy was actually
right around.
He's supposed to be fucking forget his name. Isn't he the guy? Oh, he's Roman. Never mind then. Well, no, the other one might be Roman too. Isn't he the dude who literally was from a volcano and he made all the weapons for the gods?
Yes, he is. Hold on 1 second. No, he's not Hephaestus. He is kind of the Roman equivalent to Hephaestus.
Yeah, Hephaestus was
weird
Greek,
way.
Correct?
Yeah, Hephaestus is Greek.
Yeah.
He is Vulcan. Vulcan is the Roman god of fire in the forge.
Okay. Yeah, so he died in fire. Go figure.
Which he was not. He never appeared in the book, for the record. He was created specifically for the TV show.
All right.
And there's actually a lot of little things like that in the TV show. Like, for instance, Matt Sweeney, in the book, doesn't get that much screen time.
Oh, that's sad.
Doesn't get that much screen time. Important character, doesn't get that much screen time. Same thing with the wife. Same thing with the wife. She was one of Neil Gaiman's favorite characters to write for, but we only ever saw her in flashbacks and visions from Shadow's perspective.
Right.
So he decided in the show, he's like, I'm going to give her a scene. And they kind of branched those two together to give them more screen time. And I actually really liked it because that's one of the favorite parts of my show, is just those two on the road together. And kind of the relationship between those two is really funny.
So the next notable old god is Easter.
Yes.
I guess we can talk about the other notable old god, Jesus. Because when you meet Easter at her fucking manor, we get to meet all the Jesuses.
All of the Jesuses.
So many. What would be the plural of Jesuses? Was it
Jesusi?
Jesusi? Yeah, Jesusi. Sure, why not?
Jesusis?
Yeah, we find out, dude, there's literally a Jesus for every fucking country out there, essentially. So that's fucked up. Um, Easter did not see her. Like, I did not anticipate her being a god. Does
Or
make
is it
sense.
Ostre? I think her name is, what is it?
Yeah, Osh.
Astare. She's
Yeah,
Germanic.
Astari or something like that. Yeah, yeah,
Astara is how he says it in the show, but I don't know if that's specific. Yeah, no, it's Astara. It's Astara.
yeah. Yeah, she's
You
essentially
really
the
don't know what
goddess
that
of
is.
springtime and
Yep.
renewal and rebirth and stuff.
She is, to give you an idea, let's see, pagan and Anglo-Saxons held feasts and the stars honored and died in time, replaced by the Christian Bashamos. And I'm trying to see what she was worshipped for. But I love her like her passive snide comment of like, oh, well, Jesus just so happened to be resurrected on my day.
Right.
Like, she's like, yeah, I mean, but Jesus just happened to be resurrected on my day, so I share, I share in it and it becomes our day. But behind the scenes, it's very much that kind of a, you can tell she feels some type of way. She's salty. She's a little salty.
And then the last old god they actually have listed down as an old god, and this was a little bit of trivia that you had to dump in my lap. Is the Shadow's friend from prison?
Yes.
They have him named Low-Key Lysmith.
Yes, and I there is actually a reasoning why there is, but I don't know how much I want to give away. It would even give something away to you, and I don't want to do it.
I mean, I'm game. I mean,
It would it would spoil the next season technically, depending on how they go with it, and it would spoil. I know why in the show they decided not to name him in prison because
is he
you
gonna
find
show
out
back up?
I'm sure he is. He actually did. You find out three things. From the book, we find out three things. Okay, right away in the book, we know that's Loki. They tell us up front his name is Loki Lysmith, spelled Loykey, and the last name is Lysmith, Lyes.
It's Lowk.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I said Loy.
He's low key, and
Yeah.
then Lysmith, Lye.
Yeah,
Smith.
he's a low-key Lysmith. He's also low-key Lysmith. But so you don't care. All right, I'm going to say this. I'm going to spoiler warning on top of the spoiler warning. If you don't want to be spoiled for the book, don't want to be spoiled for the next season, the next, depending on how long this takes, I'll say 2 minutes. Just tune out. So, in the book, they tell us off the bat that that's Loki, right?
Yeah.
You later find out in the book that Shadow is Mr. Wednesday's son, Balder.
Okay, so he is confirmed to be Balder?
Yes, in the book he is confirmed to be Balder. We found out Shadow's not his real name. His real name is actually Balder.
Okay.
He is confirmed to be Balder. The thing is, and that's why he's liked by all the gods and liked by everybody, because Balder was known to be liked by all.
Really? All right.
Yes, and that's kind of why nobody really looks at him unfavorably.
Now, is that also why in the show anyway, when Laura, which we'll get into, his wife, is that why she sees him as like a beacon of light? Because technically Balder was that translates
very
to
well
the shining one or something.
Yes, that could very well be why.
Okay.
They could do that because, like I said, in the book that wasn't really a thing too much. I don't believe.
Right.
That wasn't a thing too much. So that in the show it was, but yeah, that's definitely that. Now, then going past that point, from mythology, Loki was the reasoning why. Loki is the cause of death. Is how Balder died, because Balder was protected from his mother. The only thing that could hurt him, nothing on Earth could hurt him. The only thing that was missed was the mistletoe. Was the tree? Was a branch from the tree of a mistletoe? For like a mistletoe tree. So a mistletoe branch is the only thing that could theoretically kill him. Then you find out in the book later that Mr. World is actually Loki in disguise.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He's actually Loki in disguise. And top all that off, we find out because he pops back up later in the book, and Loki's pops up later in the book before that's revealed, and he starts talking about trying to find. I think it's either a staff or a branch. He says like, "Oh, I'm looking for like a staff or a branch or something." Like, and he says that. like a couple times in passing, and he's looking for it real hard, and then we find out later that's why, because he's trying to kill Shadow.
Okay.
Or Balder. So there you go. All right, spoiler over, people.
So the book covers part of what they're going to be doing in the second season, essentially?
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I think they only got through maybe about, I would probably say about 100 pages or so, maybe a little bit more.
All right.
I don't see this show being one of those seasons that's going to one of those shows that's going to have like 5 or 6 seasons. I'm suspecting between 2 to 3.
Okay.
I'm expecting 2 to 3. It'll tell its complete story in 2 to 3 seasons, and then it's done.
Well, and then for the rest of you, you will find out at the end of the season, or for those of you who have watched this, Mr. Wednesday does reveal himself to be Odin at the end of it.
Yes.
Why he is on my top 3 list of favorite characters in the show is just the way he portrays that role. He is such a conniver and such a like.
Oh yeah, like he spun the death of Vulcan real hard.
Yeah.
To get a star on his side. He
Yep.
was like, they killed my friend. Like it's like, and then you see Shadow in the background, like, what the fuck is he?
Yep. No, I really like him. He's a swindler, man. It's crazy.
There's also 2 other gods that technically made an appearance.
Let me see if they're on the
weren't
list.
really named.
I don't know if they're on the list. Hold on. No.
If not god, they're old gods. They're not. They are deities, but they're not like named per se. And one is the tree, Yggdrasil. It is it is technically a divine deity, which is the world tree.
Mm-hmm.
And the flaming-eyed buffalo. They do pop up.
Oh yeah, well they do mention the flaming-eyed buffalo, the white buffalo, when they go to that.
Yeah, I believe the buffalo actually in the book is a buffalo man.
Oh, all right.
He's not just a flaming eye, but he's actually a buffalo man with like a man with a buffalo head with flaming eyes. That's what he originally is. But
and then Yggdrasil, is that the one that is in Shadow's reoccurring dream? Is that the big white tree?
That's like the giant tree of bones and shit all around it. Yep, that's the world tree. So about that tree, fun fact again about that tree. That tree is actually the tree they used in the show and filmed in the book and everything is actually based off a real tree in a state. And if you look on the map, they pass right by the city of which that tree is actually in, but they never actually show you they never show you or tell you where the tree is to respect the owner's privacy. Yep. So on the road trip to Vulcan, Virginia, they pass very close to Floyd, Virginia. So it's in Floyd, Virginia somewhere, but they never disclose the exact location or the address, either in the book, in interviews, or in the show, to protect the owner of the tree's identity. But that tree is a tree that is based off of is there. It exists.
Okay. Now I did have a question that was brought up.
Yes.
By somebody else who's watched this show.
Clay.
Let's not name names. Okay. So Clay wanted me to ask. All right, so he was confused about one part.
I will answer, hopefully.
So in the show, we find out that Shadow's wife, Laura Moon, has passed away, along with his best friend, because they got into an accident while he had his cock in her mouth. That is exactly how they bring it up in the show. Don't yell at me.
It's actually at the funeral, and it's talking Shadow standing next to
his best friend's wife,
his dead best friend's wife, and he's like giving his condolences, and she looks over like, "Oh shit, they didn't tell you." She's like, "Yeah, your wife died with my husband's cock in her mouth." It's like, oh,
yeah,
okay, at the funeral. All right,
and then that's why Shadow ends up like getting all like hurt and angry, and then
he has like an emo like 20 minutes.
So he won a gold coin by fighting Mad Sweeney earlier in a bar, but Mad Sweeney gave him the wrong coin. He gave him his lucky coin, which is why he has bad luck the rest of the show. And he tosses this on Laura's grave, and then later on it sinks into the grave, and we find out that it's in Laura Moon, which causes her to come back as some like fucking Hulk zombie.
Yeah, And she's the one that kicks the one thing in half. That
she literally kicks her foot right through this guy, like spinal cord and everything comes flying out of this.
You know, it's kind of funny. We're kind of doing an awful job of recapping the episodes, but it's okay.
Well, we're not really
recapping.
This is a broad strokes. We're just all over the place. This is a fucking insane show. Okay,
it is. There are much better. Put it this way: there are much better episode breakdowns on YouTube that you can all watch. If you want an episode breakdown, we're giving a series breakdown and our takes and our talk. So that's what
right. Like we're doing highlights here. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. So what was Clay's question?
So Clay's question now. Later on, when Mad Sweeney brings Laura Moon to Easter to try to have her resurrected, Easter says that she died by the hands of a god. And
or a god was, a god was directly is directly the cause of her death.
And that she can't intervene with that. Now, presumably, she's talking about Odin. Because we're led to believe anyway, because of the vision that we had, that Mad Sweeney was the one who caused them to swerve and get into an accident.
Yes.
And that Odin was the one who had him do that because he needed Shadow.
Yes.
Okay. Now, technically, I mean, he is a leprechaun, but I mean, is he the god that directly caused Laura's?
No, it's Odin.
They are talking about Odin?
They're talking about Odin because so if you want to be, so there's tiers of gods really. You have people like, I might even put Bilquis in this one, but I'm going to say for this, she's kind of a major old god because she has more screen time. But I'm going to just say you have people like Mad Sweeney in the Ifrit and people like that.
Right.
They're more closer to like demigods. They're not,
they're people who have power because
they're people who have powers. They exist in old mythology,
right,
and things like that. But they're not exactly true deities.
Right. Okay.
They're like the servants of deities and things like that. So yes, he is the one who was working for that. But Odin had a direct hand in her death.
But the only real direct hand he had in her death was the fact that he sent Mad Sweeney to do. Well,
yeah, I mean that's still a direct hand. That's still a direct hand in her death, one way or another.
All right.
Because from what it seems like, she obviously was not meant to die that day. He, being a god, steered fate against her.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that was Clay's question.
Yeah, so they were specifically referring to Odin in that sense.
All right. Well then, now my question for you, Devin, as a watcher of the show and partial reader of the book, are we meant to, from the writer's standpoint, are we meant to side with one person over the other? One side over the other.
I think from the book perspective, you're supposed to side with Shadow.
Like with
and
me,
I
personally I'm siding with the old gods.
Same as me. I really do side with the old gods, but in reality, you're supposed to side with Shadow. I think you have to have a clear.
Yeah, but Shadow threw his lot in with the old gods.
Right. But there's also things that they do, that the old gods do, that he doesn't necessarily agree with. And I think there's really three sides, but Shadow is just very much sitting firmly in the old god's camp because we find out later he is an old god. He's sitting in the old god's camp, but he still has his own moral compass. So from a black and white point of view, we're supposed to sit on the old god's side, but from a moral compass standpoint, I think you're supposed to sit with Shadow.
All right.
Because you look at Shadow, and it's like he never would have personally played the hand in a mortal's death like the way Odin did.
So, question: everybody, as far as all the gods go, do all the gods know who Shadow really is? So
this is something here. In the show, and in the book, like I said, I don't believe anyone ever flat out says it until it's revealed, but I think everyone treats him a certain way. I think they kind of have an idea. Like, you look at the way, like, media was treating him, right?
Right.
Like, if he was just your standard regular human, why would anyone care?
Right. But at the same
So
time,
I think there is the inkling of, yeah, you know, there's something about him, but I don't necessarily know if they, in the book or in this, specifically, explicitly knew he was Balder.
So now what about Technical Boy? Because Technical Boy's first meeting with him was, hey, don't fuck with me. And then now, I'm going to have these faceless dudes lynch you from a tree.
Right. Technical Boy was a dick. I mean, and that's kind of what Technical Boy's, that's his whole shtick, you know. And that's why it was played up. Technical Boy was young, stupid, and naive.
All right.
Was young, stupid, naive, and that's why he flat out said, because, so if you go by original lore, going back to talking about earmuffs again for people who don't want spoilers. I want to talk about something again that I talked about earlier. If you go by the original lore of Odin and Loki, they're not father and son. Not adopted or anything like that. They're actually blood brothers. Odin and Loki made a pact and effectively were blood brothers and effectively said something along the lines of one will never have a drink unless the other one is served as well. So a very much way they are equals. And that is kind of why Odin put up with all of Loki's shit throughout the mythology era of like killing Balder, causing, siding with the, during Ragnarok, siding with the other side and all that. He put up with all of that because at the end of the day, they're blood brothers. They swore a blood oath, they're blood brothers and that kind of thing. So that's kind of why, and you kind of get that. That's why Mr. World has that respect for Odin. And he's like, when he's talking to Technical Boy, he goes, this man is older than you will ever be. And things like that. You can see the underlying respect for him, but at the same time, like, I gave you a chance, but now if you want a war, you got a war. That kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, there is that. So that the whole modern day Marvel Loki, Thor, Odin thing is not exactly true to form mythology wise, but
I always thought Loki was this a child too. I gotta brush up on my Norse mythology. Well, that right there is ruled out. I'm ruling out other questions.
Roll it out. Sorry. Thor and Loki are blood brothers, but if I'm not mistaken, Thor and Loki were blood brothers. But Odin never actually adopted. Never actually adopted Loki. There we go. That was my fault. Odin never effectively.
Now, was Loki ever actually? Was he considered an Acer? An Acer are the Norse high gods.
Okay, I am right. So I am right. I'm right on both counts. So that did happen. That did happen. I am right on both accounts. So yeah, Odin and Loki are blood brothers. If you read through the Lokasena,
okay,
which is Loki's Quarrel, is a poem that was written about Loki. In mythology, it translated basically. It does say that they made a pact. They are blood brothers, Loki and Odin. I was right the first time. I knew I was right.
All right.
Contradicting myself with facts. How dare I?
So okay. Well, we won't get it. We'll have to do a whole new thing. We're going to do a whole episode on mythology. I fucking love mythology. It's been a long time since I've read up on it. Essentially, I took several high school classes on it.
I love mythology. And across the board. But my two biggest areas I love are, and you'll see that in any kind of game I run. Just saying, is Greek mythology and kind of the Asian flair mythology from back in the day. So
yeah,
Eastern mythology and Greek /Rome mythology. I love that. That's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, see,
The
I'm
Greek and-
more versed in the
are-
Greek mythology just because it's
Yeah,
more
Greek is my
popular.
wheelhouse. Greek is my wheelhouse, but in terms of I would say for mythology aspect, Greek is my wheelhouse, but from a history aspect, I would say the Eastern history is more of in my wheelhouse.
Maybe we'll get John on here on some episode. We'll tell him to brush up on your mythology, John, and we're gonna go over some
we're gonna do it.
mythology.
Maybe we have a really long episode, like a 2-hour episode.
Maybe we'll have to break it down into definitely different things because I know Greek mythology is big enough where they can have their own essentially fucking episode. Same with Roman and Norse.
We should just do it in order. We should do the start with the Titans and then kind of branch off from the Titans and then
right, but
swing
every
back
mythology
around to-
has their own unique thing.
Well, no,
You
I'm
gotta-
talking about we pick Greek. Pick the Greek mythology, and then
Yeah.
start with the Titans.
Yeah,
Talking about the
we can.
Titans, and then talking about walking up. What is it? The Titanomachy? I think it's what it's. I think the whole story of the Titans are.
Yeah, the one where they killed, or Zeus and them killed their father.
Yeah, the Titanomachy is that's the war between the Titans and the. I guess in that era, the
gods.
new gods.
Yeah.
The new gods.
Yep. So yeah, this show essentially Shadow Moons travels along with Odin, and it's old gods versus new. The whole time it's Odin just traveling around all these places trying to recruit people. They're all
Odin
meeting
very
at
much
these cons-
reminds me of Clark. Seriously, he reminds me of Clark or Nelson.
Oh, from D&D. Okay.
Yes,
I was like,
very
Kent?
much.
Clark Kent. He reminds you of Superman.
No, he reminds me of your characters
Yeah.
from there. So hard, especially when he's when you first meet him in the show. And a little side fact here: that heist that they pulled.
Yeah. The bank.
It worked really well because some guys in real life tried it and actually got away with it. They got caught, I think, a few months later. But yeah, they
Jesus.
tried and got away with it.
Don't get ideas, people. Don't rob banks. It's not going to end well eventually.
And in most cases, honestly, robbing a bank, you don't get that much money.
No.
You don't at all.
So yeah, essentially, I mean, that's well, we went over all the different gods. The main premise of the show. I'm very happy that you talked me into this. This was a good show. It was definitely almost every other episode. I was messaging Devin on Facebook just saying, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
And then there was a certain point. He hit a point. I think around episode 3, and it was 8:00. I'm like, Webby, you're just gonna spend the whole night watching this, aren't you? He's like, maybe. And I was like, and I started going to bed, and I was like, all right, Webby, I'll talk to you in the morning after you finish all the episodes. And then I woke up at 3 a.m, and he's like, because it's the weirdest thing. I wake up at 3 a.m. The next time I know Webby's messaging me. It happens. It's happened so often and so frequently. It's weird. Yep. We're synced in a really weird way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just wake up randomly, and then within 5 minutes, bing, my phone goes off. I'm like, I'll answer. He's like, "What are you doing up? What are you doing up?"
I messaged him at 3 a.m. I was like, I'm done.
And I think I woke up at 3:45 or something. I was like, thumbs up.
Yep. So, I definitely do recommend binge. I don't know how you would have. It would have drove me nuts watching this week to week. I've been like, fuck, I want to know what happens next.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the next series ain't coming out to 2019.
I do like how. What was your favorite episode? Let's get into it. Let me ask you that.
My favorite episode. Ooh. That's a good question. Man, I actually kind of like them all.
All right.
But if I had to pick a episode, it wouldn't be episode 1.
I can already tell you mine's the Mad Sweeney background story episode. With what, Ellie McGowan or something like that? Or
yeah, the prayer for Matt Sweeney.
Yeah.
Number 7, prayer for Matt Sweeney. That one's really good.
I don't, as much as I don't really care for Anansi, the spider god there,
Mhm.
I did not mind the episode where he popped in on the boat full of slaves.
Yeah, his introduction. That was episode 2.
He pops in on a boat, okay?
Actually, you know what? Thinking about that, I actually do like. I think episode 2 might be my favorite. Only not because of that scene, but just because it set more stuff up. But what it managed to do was it was still set up, but it was a little bit more pacing wise better than episode 1.
Right.
I'll go episode 2.
I just really like how Mr. Nancy, as they call him, hops on this boat full of slaves, dressed in a 3-piece suit, telling them how they have no future and how their future is still going to be painful.
Well, and that really gives you the idea of, okay, he is, as a god, he is kind of omnipresent. Like, he's clearly from the future.
Yeah.
Talking to people in the past.
And he's like, you know what? Burn this fucking ship to the ground. Just burn it. And then they do. He talks all of them into burning and rebelling against the slavers up top.
Yeah.
The whole ship
because
crumbles.
he's talking about like, in 100 years, you're still fucked.
Yeah.
And he goes, he honestly, one of my top 10 speeches on a TV show.
Yeah.
In just terms of
it was
like,
good. That speech was good.
It was a good speech. If you want to listen to a good speech, just look up Mr. Anansi's speech, or to better yet, just watch the show.
And then after the whole ship is burning, you see all the floating debris, and there's that spider crawling up the fucking debris. Fuck that.
I must say, he's a really colorful spider too.
Yes, he was.
He's a snazzy spider.
Yeah. I don't know.
Don't piss off those bitches in airports.
Don't piss off the bitches in airports. That's right.
Yeah, Clay. Don't piss off those bitches in airports, since you're going to be flying the Gen Con.
Now, I have a question.
I have an answer.
Now, you said Loki Lysmith from the prison.
Mm-hmm.
That's Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Again, spoiler alert for people who don't want to hear this. Block it out starting now.
No.
You also said Mr. World was Loki in disguise?
Yes. At least in the book. I mean, in
the book. Okay.
They may change in the show.
Now, here's a question.
Yes.
Why didn't Loki just kill Shadow in the prison?
He couldn't.
Oh yeah, no, he needs the wood, right?
He needs the mistletoe. Like, that's the only thing that's destined to kill him. He's protected from everything else. So as far as it, theoretically, if you go by technically he shouldn't be able to get hurt. But if you go by the lore, I mean, obviously American Gods does their own thing with lore on certain things. So it's like, he may very well be getting hurt, but he will always find a way out until that kills him. Until that kills him. So he couldn't kill him. And then once you figure that all out, it's kind of like, was he actually there? Like, remember he saw him in the airport? Or he saw like a flashback of him in the airport. But the question is this: did he really see him in the airport or not? Because he wasn't wearing his prison outfit. He was wearing like a pimp jacket. It's like, did he really see him in the airport, or was that just in his head? And then you start thinking more about stuff, and you're like, oh, maybe he really. And once you know that, you're like, oh, maybe he really was in the airport.
Now, do you think Mr. Wood could hurt him?
Well, I mean, he hurt him. He did stab him.
Right, but like Mr. Wood is like the trees, so couldn't he also be fucking mistletoe?
I mean, maybe there's a good chance. There's a good chance, but then again, also maybe not, because he is considered also a god, and he could be mistletoe, but everything is with him is magical. So I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, and
hold on. One more important question.
Go ahead.
One more important question, Devin. If Shadow Moon got stabbed from a mistletoe tree, or like the wood from a mistletoe tree, could the Jesus eye save him?
No.
Man, fuck that Jesus eye, man. You can't save everybody.
I would say because of the same thing the STARZ said. You can't revive. I can't revive something that interfere with a god, that has a god's hands in it, basically. And since he would technically be a god,
I don't get that, because she also is a god.
Right, but she does not have dominion over the resurrection of other gods. So because she didn't say it couldn't be done, she said it can't be done by me. Which, if we get into more about Neil Gaiman's work, if these people do exist, I know of someone who could theoretically resurrect them if we get into Neil Gaiman's work, and because they actually do kind of pop up in the books occasionally. So all right, well, here, let me answer this question. All right, I need wanted to talk about Neil Gaiman a little bit more too.
Right.
Are we effectively done with?
Yeah, I mean, unless there's anything else that you can think of. If you have any questions for me, I know you've been looking forward to me
you cut out,
watching
but
this.
I'm good.
Motherfucker, I cut out on you?
You did. You cut out hard.
I said, unless there's any questions that you have for me, because I know you've wanted me to watch this series for quite a while now, then no, I think we're pretty good.
I mean, you answered them, and I asked you, I'm like, what did you think? I've been trying to get somebody to watch this for a while.
Listen, I'll answer you. I'll answer you the way Ed Quist would answer you, and that's meh.
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 All right. Well, that being said, going into kind of some Neil Gaiman stuff, because Neil Gaiman actually plays a very important role in DC.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know him from. I know that he did the Sandman.
Yes, which is inadvertently one of the greatest, if not, it is on most people's top 5 lists of the greatest graphic novels of all time.
I also know he did some Spawn, or at least a Spawn.
Well, he also created a character in DC Comics, in Vertigo Comics, when he created Sandman.
Okay.
And he created a council of characters which affects all of DC, and this other character that affects all of DC all the time. The character he created in Sandman, he got to start his first comic book appearance in Sandman was Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
So he created, Lucifer Morningstar, who now has a show on Netflix. Well, we used to be Fox, now on Netflix. I'm not good show, but not really. Don't watch it as a show thinking, I'm going to go watch like a Lucifer show. No, don't do that. Bad idea.
Now, is that the one with Edris? No, that's Luther. Never mind.
That's Luther. That's the one with that just recently got canceled and kind of brought back.
Okay.
Yeah. By Tom Ellis. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, he created Lucifer, which in turn, he also created the Endless. So the Endless is a council of some of the highest ranking beings in the multiverse. They actually outrank gods. To be specifically honest with you, I'm going to give you a list of what the Endless is. And now these people are still present they were created in Vertigo along with like Constantine, Sandman, all that. But Sandman was absorbed into DC because Vertigo was like Vertigo was DC's more adult line.
Right.
And they rebranded and kind of absorbed everything in there. So the Endless. The Endless is you have Destiny of the Endless. He is the oldest of all the Endless. Destiny appears as a blind man dressed in gray or brown robes carrying a large book. The book is chained to him or he is chained to the book. And within the book is written the entire sum of existence, past, present, and future. So he is effectively the physical embodiment of destiny. Then you have Death of the Endless. She is possibly the strongest character in all of DC. You could argue and say it's the Source, which is kind of their version of the One Above All. But she is known to, it's been stated she will be the last thing in any universe or multiverse, and she kind of closes the door. She will kill everything. She will eventually kill everything.
Yeah, no one escapes death.
No one escapes death, and I love the way he draws death. She's like this spunky goth teenage girl.
Yeah.
Who wears an ankh. She's really cool. I like that. Then there's Dream of the Endless, which is Morpheus. Some of you may have seen Morpheus before, or like seen pictures of him. Like if I popped a picture of Webby, you may even recognize him from comic book stuff. He is the he kind of controls the dreaming and sleeping world. He is a better Freddy Krueger in every way. Then you have apparently he got a successor. You have Destruction of the Endless. He is kind of the embodiment of destruction. That's exactly what he is. He's a large red lumberjack looking dude, if I remember correctly, with a big bushy beard. Good guy. You have Desire of the Endless, who appears as kind of this beautiful androgynous figure. It kind of is the embodiment of all desire. Despair. There's two despairs, the twin sister of despairs. So they're two sisters. And then my favorite is Delirium of the despairs, a.k.a. she's like the Malkavian antediluvian. Or like the original Malkavian, and that's exactly what she's the embodiment of all insanity. And she actually appears in American Gods. So when they meet a star in the book, not in the show, they describe a scene where, because she's always has this mangy dog. She has multicolored hair. She kind of looks like Lilu if you listen to Lilu.
Okay.
But let me see if I can pop this up and read you the passage real quick.
See, it's funny you brought this up because when me, Rob, and Austin all sat down and started co-building the world for our D&D games, we drew a lot of inspiration from Neil Gaiman and these particular entities specifically. That's where we got, in our world, is something called the Council, which are a council of entities that are above the gods. That is, we drew off some specifically from that list. We altered things. We did change things around a bit. Obviously, we didn't want to rip them off, but
Yep.
Yeah. So
this is the passage from the book where Delirium shows up. A young girl no older than 14. Her hair dyed green and orange. Her hair dyed green and orange and pink. Stared at them as they went by. She sat beside a dog, a mongrel, with a piece of string for a collar and a leash. She looked hungrier than the dog did. The dog yapped at them and then wagged its tail. Shadow gave the girl a dollar bill. She stared as if not sure what it was. Buy dog food with it, Shadow suggested. She nodded and smiled. So that was Delirium just sitting there chilling at STARZ party.
Nice.
And so if you want to read more, like if you read the book, you're like, I want to know what happened to Shadow. He appears in The Monarch of the Glen. It's in Gaiman's short fiction collection called Fragile Things, which also appears inside of a fantasy anthology edition edited called Legends 2. It details Shadow visiting Scotland and running into Beowulf's Grendel,
yeah.
He runs into Grendel. It's a great little story that fleshes out some of Shadow's feelings after the end of American Gods. So that takes place directly after the end of American Gods, but it's not exactly a sequel of American Gods. And there's also a short called Black Dog found in Gaiman's latest collection. It involves Shadow's adventure in rural England. It's mostly of a ghost tale than anything else. It's both delightfully creepy and deceptively funny. So it's just other things. And that's going to be inside of his Black Dogs and inside of Trigger Warning. Yep. And actually the Jesus Christ scene, I don't believe was actually ever in the original book. He intentionally, when he wrote it at the time back in 2001, America was obviously coming off the 9/11 religious stuff.
Yeah.
He edited that part out of the book specifically to kind of just keep the book and not have the book be a symbol of anything or anything like that.
Right. But now in the show we have Jesus Sai.
We have Jesus Sai everywhere. We have Mexican Jesus, Black Jesus, gay Jesus. I think there is Mexican Jesus, Black Jesus, gay Jesus, female Jesus, Mexican Jesus. I maybe I said Mexican Jesus. I think there's Asian Jesus. There's like a bunch of Jesus. There's just a lot of Jesuses.
You have swarthy Greek Jesus.
Definitely can't boil down that Jesus juice.
No, you cannot.
And I love how Shadow's just getting casual advice from Jesus. Like, they're all just sitting down at the pool. He's like, yeah, man, you know.
Yeah, man. And Shadow's like, that's a lot of Jesus. And Mr. Wednesday's like, well, there's a lot of need for Jesus. So there's a lot of Jesus.
There's a lot of Jesus. Like, you know. But I love how they kind of
physical appearance.
Like,
there are multiple versions of Jesus. Ernesto Reyes as Mexican Jesus. Jeremy Davies as Jesus Prime. Fode Bangura as Black Jesus, Justin Sanchez as Hippie Jesus, and Joel Chico as Asian Jesus.
There you go.
Oh my god.
Yeah, in the book, it's really the passage in the book. Let me see. In an early draft, Shadow meets Jesus briefly and finds this incarnation of the Son of God to be caught between worshippers. His peaceful roots at odds with what modern America is trying to force him to be. He also makes terrible wine.
Jesus makes terrible wine?
Yep, he turns water into wine, but apparently the wine tastes like shit.
Well, all right then.
Your wine ain't shit, Jesus.
Your wine ain't shit.
Your rugs maybe, but your wine ain't shit.
I've never heard. Okay, so to give you a rundown.
There we go.
The reveal of Odin at the end.
Yes.
He goes through all of his many names.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these I knew. Some of them I had never heard of. I will say he says he's called Glad-O War. I've heard that one. Raider and Third. I'm One-Eyed. That's a given. I'm also called Highest and True Guesser. I am Grimnir. I've heard that one. And the Hooded one. I am Allfather. Obviously, we've heard that one. Gondolier. Heard that one. And Wandbearer. Never heard Wandbearer before in my life. What was that a reference to? Is that a reference to a specific story, do you know of?
Let's see. I'm just trying to find out why they said wand bearer here. The whole speech is, I told you I would tell you my names. This is what they call me. I'm called Glad-O Grim Raider in the Third. I am One-Eyed. I am called the Highest and True Guesser. I'm Grimnir. I'm the Hooded One. I am Allfather, Gunleer, Wandbearer. I have many names. I have as many names as there are winds, as many titles as there are ways to die. My ravens are Hugin and Mugen, or Moonin. Which think means thought and memory. I think
you're right. Yeah.
Yep, thought and memory. My wolves are Frankie and Gary. I like to think it's spelled Frankie Frenki and Gary Geri. I like to just think his wolves are actually just Frankie Franky and Gary Gerry. And I just want like a TV show called Frankie and Gary. And they're just like, I'm just wolves, like, whatever. Odin left us years ago. We're just chilling. My horse is the gallows. I'm trying to see where that comes from. List of names of Odin. Let's find out. Wand bearer. So that translates Wand-Bearer or Wand-Wielder translates to Gondolier.
Okay.
Gondolier. So it's Gondlir. Gondolier.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it just had the fact that he was just a kind of and he does have a fuck ton of names. Jesus Christ.
Well, he has more names than
wins, and that is a true statement in that show. I'm about to post you a list of all these names. I'm about to post it in just the general chat of SU. It is quite a scroll.
Well. Yeah, okay, I'd say so. Can't even pronounce half of these.
No. Aldafor, Alvagal, Alpha. All right, this is a punishment game. So if somebody ever loses this, they're gonna lose. We're gonna come with a game show. If you lose this, you have to go on. You have to go. This is what we're gonna do. All right. This is the SU. This is the segment of SU where Devin makes up stupid games that we never actually play. This is the SU punishment games. So what we're gonna do is, if somebody screws something up, like or drops the ball, or we just make up a contest and you lose, what's gonna happen is we're gonna print out the list of Old Norse names, and not the anglicized ones, just the Old Norse names, and we're gonna read through, and has to be at least 3 other witnesses, and we're gonna give you the thumbs up or thumbs down. If you get thumbs down on pronouncing them, you have to take a shot, and you have to get through the entire list.
Jesus. I'm glad I'm the host and I can't be voted up that I fucked up on anything.
That's the punishment game. Oh my god, that'd be terrible.
It's a long ass list, man.
It
Jesus.
is too. You probably finish like you would probably you probably die of alcohol poisoning before you finish the
Yep,
list,
probably.
but it'd be worth it. Or you have to brush up on your old Norse. Dress up on your old Norse. Do that.
All right, so yeah, I mean that's essentially American Gods in a nutshell. Um, Again, a bunch of old ass gods waging war on new ass gods, using America as a battlefield. Uh, Now I have a question.
I have an answer.
And this might be a really simple. I have an idea. I have a thought anyway on it.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Sweeney
Answers.
fucking hates Mr. Wednesday. Does not like him. Does not trust him. Has nothing good to say about the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because of what Mr. Wednesday had him do, or is that, or does
No.
that
I don't-
hatred go deep?
Mm-mm. So hatred, I think, for him is just he hates God. A lot of the gods in general,
Okay.
because he's not a god. Like I don't think he likes very many gods in general.
Right.
And he just doesn't like the way Odin tricks people. That's why he's like, oh, everything's a lie. Everything's a lie. He's a con man. Yeah, he's a trickster. He's a con man, and that's how it's always been, right? So my take on it is Sweeney kind of likes to keep to himself, but he is technically a lesser being or a lesser deity, so he still answers to gods. He still
Okay.
goes around and kind of will begrudgingly answer to a god, like
Okay.
like Odin. He will answer to him, even though he doesn't necessarily want to. It's a very begrudging work for a god.
Right.
That's my take on it anyway.
All right, but he is firmly set in, like he is in the old god corner on this whole thing.
Yes, as far as I understand, yes. If not, I would say if not, because again, in the book, he's not as prominent. In fact, in the book, what happens to him is kind of sad. I will say this. I think in the show, as of right where it left off, I will say it. I would say yes.
Okay. Does he ever get his fucking coin back?
And again, in the book, a lot of that stuff didn't happen in the same
In the
way.
book, how did he lose his coin?
I think he just lost it to Shadow.
So
and
Shadow has
just
it?
never gave it back to him. Yeah.
Man.
I think if I'm not mistaken, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a minute. If I'm not mistaken, he won it from Shadow. Like, Shadow won it from him, and he gave it to Shadow. And if I'm not mistaken, Matt Sweeney just kind of drifts away and like he goes slowly insane. Like the coin was he was cursed to go insane, right? That was his curse. And I think over time he kind of worked his curse. Like the coin was keeping his curse at bay.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, in the book, he just goes insane and like eventually fades away on a bench.
That's not
Like-
not good.
Yeah, I think he like dies on a bench.
That's the opposite of what I want to hear.
I know. And it's not revealed who Shadow Moon is specifically until the follow-up Monarch on the Glen is specifically said. He finds out what he is, if I'm not mistaken, in the book. He doesn't find out exactly who he is until Monarch on the Glen.
Now, what is
When he
Monarch
goes-
of the Glen?
Monarch of the Glen is kind of the follow-up of After American Gods, his adventures when he meets Grendel.
Okay. Huh. I'm gonna have to read these things now. Now I'm confused. Although now I don't want to read the book because Matt Sweeney dies on a fucking park bench.
Let me look that up before I confirm that. If I'm not mistaken, that's exactly what happens to Matt Sweeney.
I mean, his name is Mad. Like he is.
Yeah.
Now, does the book actually get into like the war? Or, like, does the war?
Here we go.
actually
Here we
happen?
go. When he returns, Mr. Ibis and Jack are hosting search for Lee the Good Child as they ask Shadow to pick up a body the police phoned about. When he arrives at the site, he sees Matt Sweeney frozen with a $20 bottle of whiskey in his lap. On the way back to the funeral home, Matt Sweeney talks to him, saying that Shadow killed him. Shadow, however, insists that the cold and the alcohol that killed him, not Shadow. Sweeney also asks that he get one more meal. Yeah, so in the book, he does, in fact, like freeze to death on a park bench drinking whiskey after going slowly insane.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the way any good Irishman would want to go out.
No. He asks him to pick a fight with Shadow at the bar to see what he was made of and warns him against working for Wednesday, who he refers to Grimnir. He is also shivering, and Shadow recognizes the shiver of a junkie in withdrawal. Man, so he was like addicted to the coin. He had like the magic of that coin. He was addicted to it.
Yeah.
In the book, Matt Sweeney asks for some money for a ticket out of here, and Shadow gives him a 20. And then later in that chapter, we find out.
I like how Shadow gives him a $20 bill, but not this fucking gold coin that could save his life.
Let me see. Hold on a second. Coin trick. Shadow begins doing a coin trick, and Matt Sweeney then performs his own coin trick, making gold coins appear from all over to collect them into an empty glass. He drops the coin into his pocket where they disappear once more. Shadow's impressed. It thinks it's a variation on the miser's dream. Sweeney challenges Shadow to fight him, and he reveals how he did the trick. When Shadow won't accept the terms, Sweeney starts to fight anyway. Later, Shadow discovers Matt Sweeney had given him a gold coin. It is his coin that raises Lord Moon from the grave. Yes. So that does happen. That does happen in the book, but she doesn't get much screen time in the book. It's only between her and Shadow.
Huh.
That's it.
Well, now I don't want to read the book because Matt Sweeney fucking goddamn it.
It's all good.
This
man.
is why you don't steal Leprechaun's gold, because it'll
To be
slowly
fair,
kill them.
to be fair, I will say this. To be fair, okay? In the book, you don't have to worry about it because Matt Sweeney's not that prominent of a character. I think he's in like 3 chapters in the book.
I don't care. Also, in the books, do they actually get into like the war? Like, is there an actual war that happens?
Yeah, I mean, there's the reveal and everything. Like, there's multiple like fights that break out in the book.
Man, all right.
And how things go down. But I didn't finish the book from end to end, but from where I was, I mean, yeah, there was definitely more shit going down.
Well, all right then. Go read the book, people. Go watch the show. The show was worth it.
Yep. And I'm sure I've got some stuff wrong. So if you've read the book and I got stuff wrong, hit me up.
Post it on our Facebook page. Correct us.
You're like,
I want to
yo,
know more. Don't worry
Devin, you
about spoilers
fucked
for
up.
me.
Devin, you fucked up.
Yeah, you guys should just tweet Devin anyway. Tell him, Devin, you done fucked up. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so let's see. That's all I got. Devin, you got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, we're going to end on that note. Mad Sweeney fucking going madly insane and freezing to death on a park bench drinking whiskey.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
We're going to end this on a high note, I guess.
And I will say this, Odin is a trickster across the board. He's
the OG trickster.
He is the OG trickster because there's something I didn't even reveal to Webby in this.
What's
if
that?
he's gonna read the book.
I'm not going to read the book. Matt Sweeney dies in the book.
What if I told you the whole war between the gods was thought up between Loki and Odin?
I would believe you. I kind of had that sense.
2-part to mankind.
See, I had the idea like when I was watching the movie, when I was watching the show, and whatnot, and like I think I had it during the prison scene where Mr. World was kind of pitching his idea to Mr. Wednesday. I was like, dude, what if these two are in it together? Like, I didn't know the whole Loki thing, but I was like, what if these two are kind of in it together and they're putting on this pitch for Shadow and for the other, for Technical Boy and media, and they're going to wage this war just so people will know of them and pray and like believe in them again? Because what better way for people to believe that there are gods than them openly fucking fighting? I don't know. Like, I had this idea that it's all one big ploy to gain believers.
Yep.
So,
And I think, Webby, I think we should give Booster Gold a break this week. And we're going to say,
Whoa.
don't trust those bitches in airports.
Whoa. There is only one way I will give Booster Gold a pass.
What's that?
First, we have to do our sign out. We have to. Where can people find you on the internet, Devin?
They can find me on Twitch at Who Killed Me. And every Friday they can find me and you on Twitch streaming a game of varying whatever the hell we decided to be, probably the day of or the day before, because we do those games like we do this show.
True.
Also, you also find me on Twitter at. Go ahead.
This comes out on Friday, so if you're listening to this and it's Friday, somewhat early Eastern time, me and Devin are going to be streaming today.
Yes.
Join us.
Back to life. And you can also find me on Twitter at DMP_Pookie.
Yeah, and as always, you guys can follow me on Twitter at JaxForestWalker, all one word, and on Twitch every Friday with my man Devin at DMWebby, twitch.tv/DMWebby. We don't really have a set start time. We try to start kind of early in the afternoon. And we just go till whenever.
We try to get things rolling and start up like no later than, let's say, like 2-ish.
2 to 3 o'clock, yeah.
2 or 3 o'clock is usually the latest we'll start. If we're not starting by then, something probably happened.
Yeah, something bad happened.
Something bad happened to one or both of us.
Yeah.
They finally caught up. It finally caught up to us.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. I can't say anymore.
I'm being forced to go back. That's all I gotta say.
Yep. It finally caught up to me, and Webby's being forced to go back. We can't say anymore.
So like I said, there is only one way that I will give Booster Gold a break. Now we've done for this show. Anybody who listens to this, you can look up an old show called Tavern Talk. We used to do that before we had to change our name. This Booster Gold thing was a war that started way back on then. But I think this is going to be the 70th episode. So we've done 69 episodes where we've given Booster Gold shit. I will give him a pass this episode. But we have to say hashtag fuck technical boy. Because fuck that guy.
Okay. Well, Webby, you start us off. I want to round this out.
Fuck technical boy.
All right. Fuck technical boy. And by the way, Booster Gold, I heard your favorite character was Matt Sweeney. Say something about that.
Wait, what?
Fuck you too, Booster Gold. You don't want to say it? Fuck you too, then.
Yeah, fuck you, Booster Gold. Fuck Booster Gold.